Hello, I want to introduce you to Peddlers Den. I'm Tanya, and I'm the founder and primary artist. I've worked professionally in this field since 1995. We design and manufacture our own stamps, and they are designed to work both in scenes and with traditional techniques. And we're going to see what that means a little bit later. The stamps that we manufacture are unmounted. So when you get a sheet of stamps from us, it won't have any backing on it. And you will need to trim those with rubber trimming scissors. We like to use the Kai scissors, but a scissor with a sharp, short blade is what you really will have the best luck with. Stampin' Up! Has an excellent one. I know there's a Tim Holtz one, and the Kai scissors, they all do a really good job. So a lot of people who are unfamiliar with working with unmounted stamps really don't know what to do with those. So we developed a product called Grip It. Now Grip It is a clear mounting mat, and you can put the Grip It on your acrylic block like I have right here, or you can put it in your platform, like your Misty or whatever platform you happen to have. And it will hold your plain rubber stamp so that you can use it to stamp. You can take it off the block at any time. You can move it to your platform. You can move it back to your blocks. If you have a block that is a different size and you need a different shape, you can cut it just like you would your rubber stamps. And it's been a fabulous product. Now, there are many other ways of also using unmounted stamps. And if you're interested in exploring some of those, I would encourage you to visit our YouTube channel, where we have a video that talks a lot about those options. COVID has changed the way we do business, and we're in the process of upgrading our technology. I personally am designing many projects and kits that are beginner friendly. The nice thing about a scenic stamp collection is that it never gets old and it never goes out of style. When you purchase the set of stamps that goes with this project, which was in the Make It, Take It kits, you get all of these images on a piece of rubber. And you can use those today to do this project. You can use them individually and put them in scenes. And if you come back in 20 years, you can still use the elephants or the lion or whatever you want to make something brand new. Because of this, I really believe that scenic stamping offers you both the best value as well as the most creative opportunities of all of the stamping genre. Now, another recent project, and I told you that we were going to explore what it means to be both a scenic stamper and traditional. This is what I would call a traditional card that was created using some of our Christmas release of this year. It didn't require any masking. Anybody can do it. This particular sample is colored with color pencil. It's very easy, but it's very cheerful and festive. Now, here is a different version. This was in our kit earlier in the season. This we've called our Stamping in July lever card kit. It's still available on our website. But here we've used the same wagon, but when you open this up, now you have an inside where you can just do something simple like this, or you can do a big scene. So if you want something a little bit more than this, but you don't want to get carried away, you don't want to do a lot of masking, you don't want to, you don't want every card to take 3 hours, this is a really nice option. So you can do something like this. Now, if you're a dedicated scenic stamper and you want to take it up yet another level, you can actually take the inside of your card and you can make an entire scene out of it. And this scene is actually a very, very simple beginner scene. If you're proficient, you can make this as fancy and as elaborate as you want. Now, if you like the idea of doing a little bit of scene building, you can also do something like this. You know, here we've used a lot of those same stamps. We did a little bit of masking. We put together a scene. And you can see from these 4 samples that the stamps that you purchase from us can be adapted to just about any technique, any genre that you might like. I am always trying to develop things that the stamping world needs and they don't have. The Grip It mounting mat is one of those things. Another thing is our Scenic Elements stencils. This is an example of one of our Scenic Elements stencils. This is our birds, cats, and bats. A lot of stampers will position a bird in the sky or somewhere else, sometimes to cover up a mistake or a smear. And what we find in our classes is that a lot of people will ink up the solid stamp. The ink is slippery. When they go to put it on the card or the scene that they've made, sometimes it slides. So now they've created a bigger mistake. With the Scenic Elements, you don't have that problem. With the Scenic Elements, if you want to put a bird in the sky, you just position it like this. You take a little bit of the purple tape, and of course you can do other things too, but the purple tape is fabulous. So you just, then I like to use daubers. I'll take dauber and an ink and I'll just fill in that stencil. And at the end of the day, when you've done that, you can have something that looks like this. Now, this is one of the samples that we have done that uses ink blending. And as scenic stampers, we do a lot of ink blending. And one of our other new products is our blending ovals. We sell these on cards of 10 for $10. You do have to have the handle, which you have to purchase separately. We do sell them on our website. You attach the blending oval to this with preferably Scotch double-sided tape, permanent. And it's not permanent, but it holds it really firmly while you do your ink blending. So we put slippery ink on a slippery foam. The compressed foam is very smooth, very slippery. And then we drag it across our paper, and we are using a coated cardstock. It can be high gloss, it can be semi-gloss. We sell them both. We use them both, but your ink just glides like butter. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of time later for me to actually do a demo of this for you. We have ink. We have Making a Scene ink. And our ink line is a little bit different than most ink lines because we have developed our colors in color families. If any of you have gone to Copic classes or other alcohol marker classes, you were probably taught to use your colors in color families. You were probably taught to use duos or trios of color to develop really rich, wonderful color. Well, we do the same thing with our ink pads. We use our ink pads with our blending ovals, and we create the kind of color that you're thinking of with just our ink. Now we're going to do a little bit of show and tell here. The Peddlers Den Making a Scene stamp collection is very, very diverse. We have a very wide range of themes, a lot of different subject matter. Our stamps are designed, like I said, to be used in scenes, but you can also use them with any traditional techniques or genre. Now this set of cards or scenes was done by one of our design team members. These were all done by Hannah Gibson, very talented artist. But you can see there's real diversity here. We've got, you know, horses that look like maybe a Midwest farm scene, all the way to Africa. This was all done on coated cardstock and lots of ink blending. This is one of those little tags that you saw earlier. This is from our Utopian World collection. The Utopian World is our fantasy world. It's full of fairies and unicorns and mythical creatures. It includes the scenery. It includes the trees and the plants and even little villages and so forth. So if you kind of like fantasy, we have that in our line as well. Oh, I'm already to the bottom. These are from our Tropical and Beach collection. These two scenes were done using the masking technique to build the scene, and then they were colored with color pencils. Here's a card that I developed for one of our classes. It's called Build a Cave. And we used the same image over and over, rotating it and blending it together to create the cave with the shape of our choice. And then here's a monochromatic winter scene with our skaters. This particular one doesn't have glitter on it, but I'm particularly fond of glitter, and in my opinion, that's another way of embellishing things. I mentioned earlier that I was hoping to show you a brief demo of some of our color blending techniques, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we are starting with one of our blending ovals, and we are going to start with our sunflower ink. And I'm going to pick up some ink, and I'm going to begin to put down a little bit of tone here as if it is a sunset. Now, I want to encourage you when you're doing this technique or any other technique, you want to position your arm and your workspace so that you are comfortable. You'll see me flipping the paper around because I want my stroke, I want my motion to always be comfortable and always pretty much be the same. So to do that, we flip the paper around. So we're going to start out with the yellow, which is one of our lighter colors. It's going to be the lightest color on this particular demo piece. And you can see that you just paint it on. Now, I can pick up ink and I can put it down to really put a lot of ink on there, and I can then feather it out. No worries, piece of cake. One of the things that the blending ovals offers that other similar tools don't is we have this sharp cut edge. That is essential if you want to be able to do thin little lines of color. So when I want to do a thin little line of color, I just rotate this up on the edge and I can put down little thin lines just like that. You know, I can rotate it back to get a little thicker line. I can put it down to get a very thick line. But because of the shape of the blending oval, we have control and we have the ability to do this. Now this is meant to be a reflection, so whatever I do up top, I kind of have to do down here too. Now reflections are not always exact, and the water ripples, of course, also affect the way they look. So we're not going to be exact about it, but we are going to use the same colors down here. So I'm going to set this aside for a moment, and I am using a different blending oval for each color. So now we're going to go to the next one. This is our tangerine, and it is red, but it is a very orange red. Now when you begin to put pink or red on top of yellow, you begin to develop a golden glow. So when I'm doing things like this, I like to layer the inks to create a new shade, but I don't want to obliterate the original color. So we're going to pull this out, and we're going to have some bands of color. And you can always go back and add more later. When you're working with this technique, every single time you do something, you're going to find that you do something totally different. If I wanted to create the scene exactly the same twice in a row, I actually couldn't. You have to be willing to let the art take you where the art wants to go. And for some people, that's a very liberating, freeing concept, and for other people, it's disturbing. So I'm not sure which end of the spectrum you're on, but you just got to relax. You just got to relax and let the art take you where the art wants to go. And there is truly nothing difficult about this. And you can use any color scheme you want. You know, today we're using the hot colors, the reds and orange and yellows. But if you want it to be more soothing, you can use more of the cool shades. You can use more of the blues and what have you. If you want to do something that is kind of in between, you could do something like this. You know, it's got the yellow and the pinks, but it's moving towards the lavender and purples. But again, each time you do it, it's going to be a little bit different. There's times when I have, for whatever reason, tried to do exactly the same thing twice in a row, and I can't. But that's why they call it art. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to frame my things, my artwork, with the edges darkened. And one of the reasons I do this is our eyes are drawn to light. So if there's light or light values, light areas in the scene, it actually pulls you into it. Let's go back and look at this one again. So we've got darkened edges, and this light center just kind of wants to pull the viewer. It kind of tugs you into the scene, and we create that on purpose. All right, so I'm going to set that aside now, and I'm going to move on to the Hollyberry Red. And we're going to, because it's darker and more dramatic than the tangerine, we're going to work a little bit on the outer edges here. When I want to really get some ink down, I just tap it in like that. Now we've got real sharp corners here, but we don't have to worry about that because we just kind of brush them out, smooth that ink out a little bit. See how much, I hope you can tell with the camera. I know the camera sometimes can't figure out whether it wants to focus on my hand or whether it wants to focus on the artwork. Like I said, COVID has changed the way we do business, and I'm still in my learning curve. I'm still trying to figure out what technology is the best to use and how to best use it. Now, when we get to a certain point here, I'm going to actually revert back, and I'm going to add a little more yellow again. So we're going to come back, and we're going to add some more yellow. As I tap it on top of the layers that are already there, it begins to produce that golden glow I'm talking about. But we want some yellow that is pure. Now down here, this would be in the water and it would be more ripply. So I'm trying to do a little more of the thin line here that I showed you earlier to kind of emulate some ripples. Okay. On most of mine, because like I said, I like having that dark outer edge, on most of mine I will then take some blending black and I will actually add some black. Now this darkens, frames, and mutes down some of the color. Kind of looks like shadows. And again, this is supposed to be water, so it's nice to have it look a little bit ripply as it fades down into this area. Can you begin to see the difference here from here where there is no black? I think the framing is very effective at drawing the viewer in. And we can add a little bit up here too. The surface of your paper will eventually get so saturated that you'll have to step back and let it dry a little bit before you can actually add more ink. And we are approaching that right now. I would like to encourage all of you to find our Facebook group. It's called Making a Scene Rubber Stampers. And I would encourage all of you, if you like anything you've seen today, to join our group. Now, if you wanted to add a bird or something, you know, here we are. Let's go back. Let's see if we can throw a goose or something in here. I'm going to mask this so that I don't have to worry about that. There we go. Now, like I said earlier, I particularly like the daubers. So I'll take the dauber and I am going to add a Canadian goose right here. The nice thing about the stencils, instead of using a stamp, is that you can see exactly where it's going to be. You don't have to worry about your stamp sliding. And if the paper's a little bit too saturated and you have to wait, you can always go back and add more ink later. So I'm going to very carefully pop this off, and there you have it. So thank you for joining me today. My name is Tanya Weekly. This is Peddlers Den. And I really do encourage you to join our Facebook group, Making a Scene Rubber Stampers. Thank you very much. Goodbye.